welcome to episode 85 of the This Old Knit podcast, maybe 86. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest, and you can find show notes for this episode and previous episodes on the corresponding episode thread of the This Old Knit podcast group in Ravelry. So, hello! The lighting may be a little bit weird. I am in my dining room again, but I wanted to do one more podcast in front of the Christmas tree because it's probably going to go away this weekend. Sorry, you have a leaf. That's a leaf in front of you. Let me see if I can fix that. But yeah, I wanted to do one more in front of the Christmas tree because we're going to put it away for the year, and yeah, may as well enjoy it one more time, right? So thank you all for joining me. I have missed everybody because Vlogmas is all done, and it was really fun, but it was also a ton of work for me. Just making sure that I recorded stuff every day and that I took the time the next morning to edit everything, or sometimes I did it the evening before. But yeah, it was just a decent amount of work and a commitment, both time-wise and mentally as well, to make sure that I produced something for you every day. And but it was fun editing. Now I feel like I'm too close. Let me scoot you back. I don't have to move. You need to move. Better? Do you feel comfortable there? And this side of my hair is very illuminated, but this side is very dark because that's how we roll. I just have a window here, and then I have a window behind you that's much larger, and it's going to be extremely distracting because it's snowing today. Beautiful, soft, slow snowflakes, just the kind of snow that I really enjoy just sitting and watching while I'm knitting, but I'm coming to you instead. And I want to get this wrapped up reasonably quickly because I'd like to run over to Joann's this morning and get some more flannel to make some more pajamas for the kids. And I think I can get holiday fabric, and they're not really going to care, but I bet I can get it on huge sale because they'll be trying to clear it out. I'm a little bit out of sorts. I haven't done a full podcast in a while. So I'm intending this episode to be more of a wrap-up. I'm going to share my FOs. I have knitting FOs and sewing FOs. More sewing than knitting, but I am also going to go over my box of socks because I completed my box of socks. Yay! For 2017. So I have the box over here, and I will go through all of the pairs, what yarns I used, what patterns I used, and then that's the last time you're going to see all of them because I have waited to wear them all before or until I shared them with all of you. And I'm really excited to wear all of my socks now, so I want to get them shared with you so that I can have a bunch of new socks to wear. So just a few things I want to cover. I did draw the winner for the Advent knit along, make along. Sorry, my ear's popping. And thank you everyone for participating. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was really fun to see like the different things that you all did throughout December. And I believe Anna also drew for her winner. She actually posted it on the 25th. Yeah, the 25th. I waited until the 27th just in case if people were gifting things for Christmas and didn't want to share pictures of them yet. And also, you know, you're probably out traveling and spending time with family, and I didn't want you to have to worry about making sure you got pictures in to a giveaway. So I gave you a couple of extra days. I did close that thread. I drew the winner. The winner was Shirley Knits, and she's actually already contacted me, so I just need to get back with her on some of the fabrics I have in my stash that might correspond with her wishes. And again, I might look while I'm at Joann's today since I know what kinds of things that she kind of likes. So she said blues and cats. So I will look and see if something speaks to me for sewing a bag, but that was my intent, was to sew a bag, a custom bag for the person who won, so that they could enjoy it. So the other thing is there's 2 make-alongs that will be starting very soon. I may actually open them up now because there's no reason why they couldn't start now, because I'm allowing whips anyway. So the first one is the adult garment knit along. So this would be any garment that will fit an adult size human. So it could either be I think a teen size, because teens are actually very close to adult sizes, if not at adult sizes anyway, or a man or a woman's garment. And yeah, just have fun with it. That's basically it as far as rules go. Whips are allowed. You need to complete it within the time frame of the cow, but it's running until the 1st of April. So you will have January, February, and March to complete your object. You can start it now if you want to, and I'm actually going to open up the chatter thread because I know a lot of people are already chattering in the general chatter about that knit along anyway, and I'm excited about it. I want to start planning and talking and getting feedback because I love to get people's opinions on what they think might work well, or people to go, I don't know, Nina. Anyway, so that's starting. And then the other thing will be a year and along knit along that is the Stash or Shelf Challenge. And I hinted at it on Instagram. I actually announced it in the previous episode's thread, but I will now open up the official chatter thread. And then what I will do is I will also have an FO thread for that. And I'm going to draw prizes for it quarterly. And I'll just put a mark in the thread for FOs at the point where I'm going to draw. And then I also will draw from the chatter thread. So I will put a mark of, okay, here I'm drawing for Q1. And then I'll announce the winners on the podcast. So this is essentially a year-long challenge that I am doing for myself. And I thought you all might enjoy being challenged along with me. To help me use my stash or to help me use my shelf, virtual and physical, of things that I have. So if I own the pattern, then I could use new yarn for it. If I own the yarn, I could use a new pattern for it, or I could do both, that I own the pattern and that I already have the yarn. The only thing I can't do is a new yarn with a new pattern. If I do that, it will not count for that challenge. And for me, I'm also going to try to post when I bought the yarn. I won't really know when I got the patterns, but especially my really old stash, I was super diligent about putting it into Ravelry when I bought it. So the timestamps from Ravelry are actually fairly accurate as far as purchase date goes. So I hope that you're all excited about that. I need to come up with a hashtag for the adult garment cow. Maybe we'll do TOK garment cow. TOK standing for this old knit. So this old knit garment cow, TOK garment cow. And then for the Stash or Shelf Challenge, it's going to be Stash or Shelf Challenge 2018. And why I put the 2018 on there is because I hope that this might become my podcast's annual knit along. Because I could see myself definitely doing this in the future, and then anything I acquire during 2018 could potentially count for 2019's count. So we'll see how it goes, but that is what I have going on, and I hope you're all excited about participating in those things. So let's get right into the juicy bits, as we call them. So FOs. My first FO is a knitting FO. I have stuff kind of piled up over here on a chair. So it is my So Faded sweater that I knit for Megwin. This is knit out of Knit Picks Chroma in the Buttermint colorway. I knit it on size 5 needles, and I knit the size 8 sweater. I think that my gauge was actually a little bit tighter than the pattern called for because I wanted it to be a little more dense. It does fit Megwin. I don't know that it's going to fit her for another year because the length is just right, but I also have a lot of extra yarn of this, so I could potentially rip out the bind off and add more ribbing because it could definitely have a very deep ribbing. One thing I will say about the yarn is Megwin said that it was scratchy when she put it on, so she's totally fine with it when she has a t-shirt on underneath of it. And for Christmas she wore the collared blouse from her Hermione Halloween costume, and that was totally fine and it looked really cute. So I would not necessarily recommend this yarn for next to skin wear for children. That said, I do have a cardigan that I knit out of this with the Guppy colorway and an Angora merino blend striped, and I don't have a problem with wearing that. So your mileage may vary. I also am going to try to soak this with some hair conditioner. That's kind of my trick for getting more rustic wool to be a little bit softer. I did that with Joshua's bear sweater, and it is knit out of BFL, West Yorkshire Spinners, Air Valley DK, which is a BFL yarn. It's a non-superwash BFL. And it made it a ton softer. And he was complaining before about his arms being itchy, and now he doesn't at all. So this may just need a little soak with hair conditioner. But I really love how it turned out. The stripes are really, really pretty. I'm going to bring it closer. I like that the sleeves have these very fadey, longer stripes. This is all just the yarn working. I did not actually fade anything, but I thought it was a cute shape regardless. And I may make her another one where I actually truly do a fade. I was thinking about making her a mini version of my Star Wars sweater when I finish my Star Wars So Faded. Maybe I will make her a mini version and flip the colors the other way. So use the one that I use on the bottom as her top and fade down into what I have on the top for me as the bottom for her. I haven't decided yet, but she really does love it. She said it was very warm, and I'm excited to have her wear it for school, etc. now that the temperatures have really dropped. Like right now, I think it is, I don't know, it said with wind chill it feels like around 6 degrees, so that would be 24, negative 12 Celsius, so it's cold. So a nice wool sweater will be great for her to have. I'm going to not put that on the table. The table is really, really messy right now. I didn't get a chance to wipe it down. The kids have been crafting and eating on it the last day or so, and there's pancake syrup on there, in addition to crayons, etc. So I did not want to put that sweater on there. I'm going to go through my whole pile over here, and then I'll do my box of socks. So that is the only knitting FO that I had outside of my box of socks. But I do have sewing FOs. So if you will recall, I said I was going to sew Christmas PJs for both of the children for Christmas Eve. And I think this will become a Christmas tradition for us because they loved it. They were so excited. And honestly, since Christmas Eve, they've worn these PJs nonstop. So once I finish showing them to you, I'm gonna go put them in the wash because they're getting a little bit iffy, which is the reason why I want to go get more flannel to sew them more pajamas because they love them. So for Joshua, I did not finish his little shirt, so I still have that to do, but I did make him a pair of pants. If you watched my Vlogmas, you will see the way that I draft my patterns and do everything. So it did take quite a bit of time, but now I have the Swedish tracing paper master pattern that works for Joshua, so I can just crank stuff out. that takes quite a while, but honestly, I think it's really worth it because to me, if you're going to sew your own clothing, why do you not want to sew it to a custom size to fit your body or the body of the recipient? It doesn't make sense to me. So for my own sewing, I think it's worth the time to make sure that it's going to fit appropriately. And my children do not fit standard sizes. I don't think any of us really do. But they're very slender and tall. So here are his PJ pants. I made them in the size 2 for this pattern. And I'm sorry I did not write down the numbers of the pattern, but I will make sure that I include the patterns in the show notes for all of the stuff that I'm going to show. I also put, for at least the nightgown, I put the pattern number in my Instagram post with the nightgown. So if you're interested and I forget, and you follow me on Instagram, you can go find it there. So size 2 for the whole pants, except for I made the length of the size 3. And they are perfect. They're like a little bit long for him, which is great because they will last for a little while. And they also have quite a deep hem, so I could take the hem out and make it smaller to squeak a little bit more wear out of them. So please don't pay too much attention to the actual flannel because they are dirty. He's worn them outside. He's worn them to the store. He does not want to take these off, except for when he wants to put on his sister's nightgown, because they both figured out that if they sit over top of the vent, that they floof up like one of those big inflatables. They fill with hot air and they have this huge like thing around them. So he really wants his own nightgown now so that they can both sit on vents and laugh at each other while they do this inflatable thing. So once I sew another nightgown for Megwin, he's probably going to be stealing it so they can play the vent game. So here's the flannel closer. It's all these fun little woodland characters in scarves and hats, and they are building a snowman. There's little snowflakes. I love this flannel so much. I have enough to make a top, a little button top for him. I just haven't cut it out yet, and again, if you watched Vlogmas, you would see that I was running out of time. So I picked my battles, and he's just been wearing this with various little soft t-shirts that he has, which is completely fine. So those are his pants. And then for Megwin, I made a nightgown, a very classic style nightgown. And again, I have not finished it because it needs, it calls for making a little button loop on the back to hold it closed rather than doing a buttonhole. And I have the button, but I would like to buy some elastic thread to do that button loop with. I don't have any, so I will get some today when I'm at Joann's, but it stays on reasonably well even without that. It's just open in the back, but she doesn't seem to mind, and it's really comfortable for her. So for her, I chose this penguin fabric. It's got penguins participating in winter sports. So they are ice skating. There is some sledding. I feel like there was maybe skiing somewhere on here. And then there's these little artsy trees, like scribbly trees. Huge snowflakes, little dotty snowflakes. And some of the penguins are wearing Santa hats. They're kind of upside down, right side up, all over the place, but there is actually a direction to it. There are more that are facing one direction than the other. So while I said it didn't matter, once I started looking at it when I was cutting the pieces out, I realized that there was some direction to it. So I made sure that I made it all go one way. So this guy, oh my God, this is probably the most complicated thing that I have sewn as an adult. I used to sew my own clothes as a child, and I participated in 4-H. Some of my projects went to the state fair, so I did make more complicated things like blazers, things with pin tucks. I remember them, but I haven't sewn anything like that in years. So this was like jumping back into that world. And honestly, as long as I just went along with the directions and went step by step, it was okay. I think there was one part where I got a little bit confused and I wasn't sure what the pattern was saying. But then I figured it out just from looking at it. I was like, there's no possible way that I could sew that piece to that piece, because then everything would be inside out. So I puzzled it out. But it's a really long gown. It's intended to go all the way down to the child's feet. It's also supposed to have a ruffle on the bottom. Again, in the interest of time, I nixed that ruffle. It was 2 extra seams that I did not want to do, plus gathering that I didn't want to do, and I'm really glad I did, and I may, in fact, not ever do that bottom ruffle. So it also called for gathering the sleeves, like sewing a little bias tape on the inner part of the sleeve and then putting a little elastic inside of it so that it would, you know, cinch up around the child's wrist. I did not do that, and I think that is totally fine. Megan can roll these sleeves up if she wants to do things with her hands and have them out of her way, but I think then it's not restrictive on her. She really doesn't like that. So fully gathered skirt, and this is a very, very full skirt body piece. Then for the bodice, it is a fully lined bodice, so you make the same bodice and then you sew them together, which is a lot of extra time. You flip it and then it makes this fun little front piece. And also the bodice back was a little bit big, so I kind of smudged it together here and made it work, but there's kind of a little pocket here, so next time I sew it, I'm gonna take some out of the back bodice, some fabric out, like either through doing a bigger seam on the side, or maybe I will just make that pattern incrementally, or that pattern piece incrementally smaller. It's only about a 1/2 inch, maybe less, so it wasn't a big deal to kind of fold it, so I could just keep doing that too. And then once you've fully lined it, I also tucked the skirt piece in between the 2 bodice pieces, so none of that seam is touching her at all. It has this really sweet ruffle in the front, and then the pieces from the back kind of flip over to the front like little straps, kind of like tank top straps, if you think about them. There's also this little trim that you put into the edge. It is fancy, guys. And then there's gathered little puff sleeves. I imagine that if Anne of Green Gables were a modern girl, this is the kind of nightgown that she would want. So it's got a modern print, but this is a very classic silhouette. So there it is, and again, I have all of these pattern pieces drafted, so now I can just go to town cutting out and sewing more of them. Hopefully the other ones would not be as complicated. Man, I can just feel the cold radiating off of that. We need to go through and seal our window frames, because the wooden window frame, which you can't see that I'm indicating, there's actually like little places where it's leaking cold air, so we just need to go through with clear caulking and seal it. Now that we can feel the cold, it's much easier than in the summertime trying to feel the hot air leaking in. So yeah, she loves it. Again, she has worn it nonstop since Christmas Eve, so there definitely need to be a couple more of these, at least one more in her wardrobe, so that I can wash it once in a while. But I'm very proud of how it turned out. I love it, and she loves it too. And the last sewing FO, I'm not sure I would even consider it an FO because I need to fix some stuff on this. So it is my narwhal dress. I don't think I ever showed the final one on the podcast. This is the Cocoa dress by Tilly and the Buttons. And I sewed it out of some narwhal fabric, which is Doodles fabric from Joann's. It's a knit fabric. I did my Franken sizing. Again, like I have my master pattern now, so I can just cut these out and churn them out. And I want to do a few more Cocoa dresses in other prints. I also would like to try to do a Monetta dress because I was watching Isabel from the Fluffy Fibers podcast, her most recent or the one before that episode. She was wearing a Monetta, and I have that pattern. It's a Colette pattern, and it was beautiful. So I've got a lot more knit fabric that I will show you soon that I acquired through the Black Friday sale from Girl Charlie. So maybe I'll make a Cocoa dress and then a Monetta dress. But this is a Tilly and the Buttons pattern. It is the Cocoa dress, and I did a size 4 for the neckline, a size 5 for the chest, and then a size 3 for everything else. Also a size 3 for the sleeves. I do love how it turned out, and I think that as far as fit goes, it actually is slightly better than my sushi dress. Probably because the fabric is a little bit more soft, so it clings a little bit more. However, that also meant that sewing it with a traditional sewing machine was a little more challenging. I had trouble maintaining the tension and getting it to feed through. So I think what I'm going to do, there's a couple places where the stitching is terrible on the back. And I think it's mainly around the hem. So if you look at that, let me see if I can get it really close. Do you see how there's like all these gross loops and stuff? And there's actually a place under the arm where it got a hole because I didn't catch all of the fabric in it. So I had to quickly pull out my sewing kit at work and sew that armhole closed in a bathroom stall. So that was fun. At least I noticed it before anybody else saw me with a big hole in my armpit. But, yeah, I think it will be better if I serge it. And I did get a serger over Christmas. Josh's grandparents gave us some money to buy whatever we wanted to buy, so I used it towards purchasing a serger because I really am enjoying sewing with knit fabric, and in the new year I would like to up my game a little bit on sewing. So I thought a serger would be a good investment purchase, and it was on sale on Amazon for I think $40 or $50 less than normal price. It's already back up to the normal price again. So it was a good time to buy it. So thank you, Josh's grandma and grandpa, who do not watch the podcast, but thank you anyway for the wonderful serger. So there it is. It is probably a little bit shorter than knee length, slightly, but not much. And I really love it. I still get tons of compliments at work about my sushi dress. People always want to know where I bought it, and I'm like, no, I made it. You can't have one. Or you can have one, but you need to learn how to sew. So, box of socks. This was a year-long knit-along in the Yarngasm podcast group, and the challenge is to knit 12 pairs of socks for yourself and to put them in a lovely decorative box. So I've already taken photographs of my socks in the decorative box, and I've posted them in the FO thread. I probably will not win. There's like thousands of entries into this cow. But I now have 12 pairs of new socks to wear into the new year. And I think for next year, I'm going to try to knit more socks for my family. Because now that I have a really full sock drawer. My husband needs to have socks. My daughter needs more pairs of socks, although she has 4 pairs of socks now. And then my son definitely needs some because he only has 1. So he has the fewest pair of hand knit socks. So here's my box. Final time you're going to see it. It is owls arranged into kind of a Christmas tree shape. I've had this for 2 years because it was going to be my box of socks last year, but I did not complete it. So it is my box of socks this year. See, they're sparkly. The snowflakes and the flowers on the top, and then there's little owls along the bottom there. It's kind of that papery cardboard. It's by Punch Studio, and I got it at Tuesday morning when they had all of their Christmas stuff on super huge sale. So the socks, the pair that I finished that I don't think I've shown on the podcast are my Peppermint Mocha socks. These are the Peppermint Mocha pattern by CC Allman, and they are in the Peppermint Mocha yarn by No Makers. This is the BFL sock base. I never remember what the gnome name is, but it's the one that's BFL and nylon. Bungalow gnome, that's what it is. So it's in the Bungalow Gnome base. So as I was saying, these are the Peppermint Mocha socks. It is an all-over spiral slip stitch pattern. It's really fun. It's really fast. And here's my 2 socks. I love how this yarn spiraled up the leg and on the foot. I did not do any contrasting heels or toes, again, because time, y'all, time. They actually have all of the ends woven in. When I was weaving in the ends, I was like, why did that go so quickly? And I realized it's because there's only 2 ends to weave in because you have your cast on and your bind off. I'm not used to that because I've been knitting so many pair with contrasting heels and toes and potentially cuffs. So that is the most recent finished pair of socks for the box of socks. And I'm actually probably going to go most recent to oldest because I'm digging down. Okay, so then pair number 2. Again, I don't remember if I showed these finished ones on the podcast. That's the one problem with Vlogmas, is that since I was showing stuff constantly and I was producing content constantly, I don't know which things were in the podcast versus which things are in my Vlogmas episodes. And I don't want to not show you things that I showed you on Vlogmas because I'm not sure that everybody actually wants to watch my Vlogmas. It's a lot more just my life rather than the knitting, and I get it. Some people just are here for the knitting, and that's totally fine. I get it. So these are out of Crazy Zauberball in the Papagay. I don't know. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that terribly wrong. But the Popinjay colorway. And they were very crazy. Crazy Zauberball lived up to its name in every way. But I call them my Isle of Misfits socks. Still very Christmassy. And for those of you who watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the one with the claymation, he goes to the Isle of Misfit Toys. So these are the Isle of Misfit socks. So there you go. They're just vanilla socks, but this one was knitting up so very nice, and this one, it started out like the first one, but this huge red section, and then it went right back to being normal again. So, you know, do your thing, Crazy Zauberball. So that is pair number 2. Pair number 3 are in classic Bleachy in the Summerberries colorway. So these are ones that my Aunt Lynn gifted this colorway to my mom. It wasn't really her thing. It's definitely my thing. I thought of these as kind of my Sugar Plum Fairies socks because they're very pinky yet wintry at the same time. I don't think of them as Summerberries because they feel like very icy colors. And I also did the heels and toes in Knit Picks Hawthorne Turkish Delight. You're going to see that at least one more time. And Turkish Delight is clearly a winter thing because of the Chronicles of Narnia. The White Witch gives Edmund Turkish Delight. So I associate Turkish Delight with winter. So these are winter socks, y'all. Why am I saying y'all all the time? I do not say y'all normally. So again, they are just my normal vanilla sock pattern. And I like them. I'm very much looking forward to wearing them. The same is true for all my socks in the box of socks. While I've knit a bunch of new pair of socks, I haven't actually had a new pair of socks in a year because I've been putting them all in this box. All right, so next up, keeping with that Turkish Delight theme, these are my Weasley Homestead socks. They're an Erica Luder pattern. It's free on Ravelry. And this is in the Chocolate Easter Bunny colorway from Wool & Vine Yarns. It's her footsie base. And then again, that Knit Picks Hawthorne in Turkish Delight. I still have a ton of this ball of yarn left. Yeah, it's very nice heels, toes, and cuffs. This is you can see it's an all-over patterned sock, but a really simple pattern. Erica Luder's patterns are very accessible if you're looking to do a patterned sock for the first time. And Tommy of Squirrel Pie Productions is actually running a cal till the end of January. That's the patterned sock cal. So that would be a great opportunity to dip your toes in patterned socks. That was so cute. There was a little drift of snow that just kind of swirled off the bushes. It was beautiful. Okay, and then these, I believe, were actually my first pair of finished socks for this box of socks. These are the Knit Picks Bleachy in Kaleidoscope. I think it's Kaleidoscope. So it's a gray with neon stripes. These are in the Vanilla Bean pattern by Emily O'Grady. I love using this pattern for Knit Picks Bleachy yarn. It works out really nicely and it just gives a bit of interest to self-striping yarns. So that's those. Oh, these are so soft. I love Knit Picks Bleachy. I'm gonna put some more Bleachy socks on the needles soonish, but there are a lot in here actually. So I knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair in Knit Picks Bleachy this year, so that's not bad. Oh, these. I've been so looking forward to wearing these because this is one of the most beautiful colorways ever. Okay, so this is the Yarn at Home Mom Anne of Green Gables colorway. It is inspired by a picture that she took of a scene in the Anne of Green Gables movie, the one with Megan Follows. You all know how I feel about that new series that shall not be named. But the classic Megan Follows, you need to watch it. So, Anne of Green Gables. These are in the Hermiones Everyday Socks pattern by Erica Luder. It's an all-over knit pearl texture pattern. Again, very simple, but a very nice, striking result. I have Partridge Heel. Shannon really outdid herself with this color. It's amazing. Got blues and that auburn for Anne's hair, greens and black speckles for Diana's black hair, the beautiful blue for the sky, the green of the grass. Just amazing. Can you imagine a sweater out of this colorway? I wanted to buy a sweater's quantity of this so badly when she had the wholesale orders, but I just didn't have the budget to buy two. I bought one in the Dragonfly In colorway, which will be gorgeous, and I'm going to knit it into the Sunset Highway pullover. That's going to be the main color of the body. But I wish I had been able to afford also an Anne of Green Gables colorway, because that would be so pretty. But maybe someday, when I'm independently wealthy, which probably will never happen. Okay, next pair of Knit Picks Bleachy, and these were my Halloween socks. These are Knit Picks Bleachy in the Witch's Brew colorway. And I knit these in the Blueberry Waffle pattern, which again is a free pattern. I used Patton's Croix kind of charcoal gray. I think the colorway is charcoal for the heels and toes. And it matches very nicely with the black stripe, which isn't quite black. It is more of a charcoal gray. So I had those done in time for Halloween. They were, but I did not actually wear them for trick-or-treating because I wanted to keep them nice for the box of socks. So maybe this year I will wear them 2018, I will wear them when we go out trick-or-treating. The next pair is Gingerbread House by the Cozy Knitter. I had had this yarn in my stash for about a year. I bought it in Christmas time 2016, and I did not knit it up at that point, and I just didn't feel like knitting Christmas socks after we got through the Christmas season. I'm sort of feeling that way again, so some of my Christmas sock yarn is probably going to go into my stash for next year's things, but I think I will knit some stuff for the Christmas in July cows. Maybe I'll do some Christmas socks. So these are knit out of the sock set. So it is, I think, the Bliss base. It's the non-sparkle base. It comes with a cream color contrast skein. So I did, in this case, cuffs, toes, or heels and toes. I usually don't do cuffs, but I went all in on this because you get a smaller skein of the striping. So I wasn't sure I would have enough. I did have enough. I probably could have done the cuffs, but I think now I will have enough to do a pair for Joshua out of this, using the contrasting for, again, the cuffs, toes, and heels. So that's those. The next pair is also out of Knit Picks Bleachy. This is the sport weight, so these are just a little bit heavier. But I didn't really change my stitch count, so these are just a little more squishy. I might actually wear these this weekend because they're going to be nice and warm for if I need to go out and shovel, which we need to shovel the front walkway and the sidewalk, so that when people are walking down the sidewalk, they're not walking through the snow and the postman can get up to our door. These are out of the Neapolitan colorway. Again, this is old Bleachy, so discontinued. This is from my Aunt Lynn's stash that I picked out when she passed away. So I took all of the Bleachy that I could find out of her stash because to me, Bleachy is absolutely 100% my Aunt Lynn. She is the one who introduced me to Bleachy, so I will forever think of her when I knit with Bleachy. So I needed to have her Bleachy and knit it into socks. So here they are. I used No Maker's Scruffy Gnome in the Cookies colorway. This is leftovers I had from Megwin's Little Honey sweater that I knit when she was 5. She still can wear that one, actually. But I think it's a perfect match for this stripe here. I use that for the heels and toes. And then I had enough of this left over that I sent some to Anna in her Advent swap package. I have some to put into my blanket. make like a hexie puff or two. But I really love these socks. I think these are one of my favorite pairs of all the ones that I knit this year. Again, I did Hermiones Everyday socks pattern. And I just love how this works out on self-striping sock yarn. I would never have thought to put this on self-striping sock yarn until I saw, I think it's Charlie's Girl 123 on Instagram. She knit some Bleachy socks in the Hermiones Everyday sock pattern, and I was like, oh my gosh, those are stunning. I want some. So thank you, because you are the one who's responsible for one of my very favorite pairs of socks. And I used to not, like the first Hermiones Everyday sock that I knit, which I think I'm wearing right now. I am wearing them right now. Let's hold up my foot. These are Vesper sock yarn in the Rainbow Love colorway. I hated knitting this pattern. I hated it so much. And I think why I hated it is I was knitting English style. So purling was a pain in the butt. Now that I knit continental and I Norwegian purl, there isn't all the back and forth yarn motion. You're just picking it differently. So they're fast. So I love that pattern now because the texture is gorgeous. So yeah, now I love the pattern, and it is one of my go-tos when I don't want to knit vanilla socks. You will see on some of these I still have some ends to weave in. I think I'm going to do that tonight, so that going into the new year, all of these will be absolutely ready to pull out and put on. But I have gone through and woven in ends on many of them. Just the ones that are at the very bottom when I was really just trying to crank out socks, I just threw them in the box when they were done. So this, again, is another of my very favorite colorways that Shannon, the Yarn at Home mom, does. I think I may have gone slightly off between these two socks, but who knows, because what I do is on the first sock, I am knitting it and trying it on as I go and then adjusting, and the second one I just knit it exactly like the first one, so the same amount of rows. So it always ends up that it seems a little bit smaller because I haven't been stretching it out, trying it on over and over and over again. But once I wear them both and then wash them, they're the same size. So I count rows for the second sock. So this was clearly the first sock. This is the second sock. I know that they're the same, but here's the difference in stretch. It's quite significant. Yeah. But I know they're the same size, so it is completely fine. Yeah, and when I line up the heels, see, then they're okay. So it's just that the leg is stretched out on the first one. Excuse me. So this is Candy Cane Coffee colorway in the Yarn at Home Mom basic sock. And then I had some just generic red in my stash. This might be the Crafts Meow Cherry Sundae. My friend Gwen, who used to dye yarn, she does not anymore, but I still have some of her yarn kind of kicking around in my stash. I love this color. It's got all that coffee color and then these beautiful speckles of red and blue. So I actually ended up with quite a few very festive socks to wear throughout the kind of Christmassy season, but not so festive that I couldn't just wear them every day, because these are, you know, generic enough to wear every day. I'm almost there, guys. I didn't think this would take so long. Okay, then Knit Picks Bleachy socks again. These are in the Sprinkles colorway, just generic vanilla socks. I do really love this color. I had a lot of fun knitting these. They remind me of popsicles more than sprinkles. I don't know. And the last, sorry, things are falling, but certainly not least, pair is my Hidden Stairways socks. Again, another Erica Luda pattern, because as you know, I was trying to knit through some Erica Luda patterns. This one is also a really fun pattern to do. It makes a really cool effect, and it is just a zigzag back and forth. So I think it's a 14 row repeat. I'm gonna put these back in the box just for organizational purposes, but I'm not gonna make them fit as nicely as they were for the nice photo op. Okay. These are knit in fiber optic footnotes, I think, in the mellow grello colorway. So it is various shades of yellow with gray. I love yellow so much. It's my favorite color, and gray is a color that I wear a ton, and I really love it too because I have gray eyes, so it looks pretty good on me. So you can kind of see that little zigzag. It's supposed to be like the stairways at Hogwarts that are constantly changing position. Has that nice Eye of Partridge heel, which is very classic Erica Luda. I'm very excited to wear these. They are like happy, happy, happy on your feet, and they are nice and bright. Man, I feel like my nose is going downhill, not getting better as this podcast goes on. To edit out a lot of nose blowing. Okay, one more thing before I forget, and I'm actually going to be packing this up. Maybe tomorrow, but I'm waiting to post this until the person receives it. So Kristen and I had discussed doing a Christmas exchange with each other, and so I put together a package for her, and my theme was the theme song from The Sound of Music, My Favorite Things. But I wrote alternate lyrics, and one of them was for Nilla the Unicorn. So I knit her a Nilla the Unicorn. She knit one a year ago, but she only did the head, and then she never made the body. So I completed one, and here she is. And oh my gosh, she turned out exactly how I imagined her to. She's a little lopsided, but most stuffies are. They have character, right? So she is knit out of Wool & Vine Yarns Grimm in the blitzed base. You can see all that awesome sparkle. The horn and hooves are knit out of Vanna's Choice. I have the ball over here, but it's buried in some other stuff, some other yarn. I got the eyes from 6060 Eyes on Etsy. So they're hand-painted eyes, and I made sure they were green. And then I used my leftovers from my socks I knit last year from CC Almond's collection based on coffees. I don't remember which ones they were called, but Pumpkin Spice Latte. I Love You More Than Pumpkin Spice is what they're called, and I made mine out of fairy hair. So this is fairy hair in the footsie base. And what other kind of hair would a unicorn have than magical fairy hair? And it's mauve, because this is going to be Kristen's unicorn, so of course it had to have mauve hair. Oh my god, so amazing. I love her so much. So this side I left kind of wild and crazy, and this side I braided the hair around the ear, but she could let it be wild and crazy on both sides if she wanted to. I love that her ears are a little bit cockeyed. Yeah, she has so much personality. She did not sit up, but I made the tail super poofy so that now you can counterbalance her on her tail, and she will actually sit on a shelf. So I hope that you love her, Kristen, because I had so much fun creating her, and I can't wait to knit the one for Megwin, and hers is going to be rainbow. and it will be equally as adorable. So just in case you're wondering, I think these are the 9mm eyes from 6060 Eyes. I had them left over from my Bonbon Bunny that I knit out of fingering weight as well. So I went down one size of eye from the one called for in the pattern, because the pattern is designed for worsted weight, and this pattern is actually designed for worsted weight as well. So I kept all of the same stitch counts. I just knit it out of fingering weight instead to make it be tiny and adorable. A tiny, magical, wonderful unicorn. So that's it. So that is all I have for finished objects. And then I did a recap of knitting objects in one of my Vlogmas episodes. I was going to do that on the podcast also, but I didn't bring the list over here with me, and I don't want to go try to find it on my desk. So maybe next time I will do that, because I do expect that a couple of things that are whips right now will be done before the end of the year. So I will do a knitting 2017 recap in my first episode in January. So the first one, just because it's what's on top, is cross stitch. So it's my Sweetest Pie stitch along. I did a lot of work on this last night. So Megwin stayed the night with my mom, so we were just one kid, and Joshua fell asleep at like 8:30 or something like that. And my husband was hosting a D&D game with his friends. They do it online because his friends don't live in the area. But since they were doing that, I sat on the couch and watched Gilmore Girls and stitched on my Sweetest Pie stitch along from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So I finished all of the stuff down here last night. So you can see the outline of the crust. This one's going to be an apple pie. And then this is like the scoop of ice cream on top of the apple pie. This one is an Oreo cookie pie. So I did all of the black parts that'll be the cookie. This is the Oreo cookie garnish. The places where it's not filled in, there's brown like chocolate swirls. And then this is like the crust. And then they have their little eyes. I love the pink cheeks. They're so cute. This is key lime, and then this is chocolate cream. So I felt pretty good about my progress on that last night. Quite a lot done. Cross stitching is a slow art. Takes a lot of time. And I really shoved these in. I have them kind of sitting in a basket so they don't fall everywhere. Then the next thing that I worked on is my glittery blanket of unicorns and magic. Oh no, I'm in the middle of a corner. I'm gonna have to figure out where I even am on that. I took this with me when I went to the doctor, so I got pink eye over Christmas, which was just delightful. So I had to work from home the 3 days after the Christmas holiday because I was contagious. So even though there weren't very many people in the office, I wasn't going to bring that in. So here it is so far. I think you can see that. So transitioning now into darker colors, like dark blues, navy blues, purples. And it is all knit out of Stellina yarns, which you cannot see at all, but I can see it. In person it is glittery, but there's just too much light, so it's blowing it out. This is the right side. I want to have the ridge on the right side. So it's coming right along. Still working on my Yarn at Home Mom Gilmore Girls themed minis. And it's in my bag from my rainbow llamacorn bag from Pandia's Jewels. Then in the bag that I sewed These are the blue striped rag socks for my husband. These are one of the things that I hope to complete by the end of the year. And this will be the last time I make anything out of this yarn for a really, really long time because I am really super, super sick of knitting it. This is my second pair of socks for my husband because the first two I made were different sizes. So I made a third sock to match the shorter sock. Now I'm making the fourth sock to match the longer sock. So he got two pair out of the same yarn. I did different stripes on the top so he can easily visually tell which one goes with which. So this one starts with this dark blue stripe. I think the previous pair started with the navy blue stripe on the very top. So he's excited about them. He loves having hand knit socks, of course, as I've said before. So I've finished with his gusset decreases and now I am just knitting down the foot. This is the first sock completed, ends woven in. I'm using as the contrasting heel and toe, it's Ousterman Step Royal, so it has a little bit of silk content in it, but it's definitely still very rugged yarn. One thing I did figure out is where I was picking up stitches for the heel. I was picking up into these slip stitches previously, and I picked up into the slips on both sides and then I knit through the back loop on the first round. The problem is that on one side that would actually make a little series of eyelets, and this was something that I learned from Grumperina a long time ago when Grumperina used to do a blog. But I was starting to look at some of my pairs of socks and I really didn't like it. Like, it was super open, especially on my Peppermint Mocha socks is where it is very, very visible. So on Josh's socks, I tried to do something a little bit different. So on the this one's not really going to show it because I think I did do it the old way. So you'll be able to see, can you see how there's like a little series of eyelets there? They're really subtle, but they're there. They're just small holes almost. So I figured out that if I pick up stitches and knit through not the slip stitch, but one stitch in from that, and I pick up and knit through the back loop on the initial pickup round on the side going up the heel flap, then knit across and do it normal way on the side going down the heel flap, it closes those holes. So this one, I did that, and again, you're not going to be able to see it, but the actual slip stitches on the inside are backing for the stitches that I pick up, so they're covering those holes more completely, and it is a very good and visible version. So I'm going to do that going forward on my heel flap. That probably made absolutely no sense, but it was a revelation to me. So this is what I have left of the ball. This should be enough for the foot because I am doing a contrast toe. I'm so excited to be done with these guys. I'm so tired of this yarn. So tired of it. But he really does love these socks. The first pair I made for him, he said they're his favorite of any that I've made for him. So they're good. All right. In the interest of making husband socks, which I said I'm going to do more of this year, here's another bag that I sewed. I think I showed this on the last podcast. I am making what we in this house are referring to affectionately as sock 2.0. So sometimes when my husband goes out for walks in the morning, his feet still get pretty cold, even with the hand knit socks. So we thought, what can we do to kind of up the warmth factor a little bit without adding a lot of bulk? And I said, well, what if I hold it double with a strand of mohair? And he was game to try it. So I am doing that for this pair of socks. So this again is sock yarn that came from my Aunt Lynn's stash. This I would call almost a sport weight. It is Interlacement's Tiny Toes, and it's really thick, like thicker than Patton's Croy thick. It says it's fingering, but I call shenanigans on that one. Like, look at how thick that is, guys. It's super thick. And I actually started knitting it with his standard 72 stitch count. And I was looking at it, and I was like, that is too freaking big. It's huge. Like, once I got down here onto the body of the sock, it was like out here. Yeah, about that much extra. And I was like, there's something wrong. This can't be right. I took one of his socks that he had been wearing previously and laid it up against it. And it was matching with a fully stretched sock. Now, for those of you that have worn hand knit socks, you will know that as you wear them, they stretch out. They still fit. They still work. But they do stretch out over time. And then you wash them and then they suck back in because wool has memory. So if they were already measuring the size that they would have measured when fully stretched out, they were going to be gigantic when he wore them a little bit and just be way too big. So when I looked at it compared to a non-stretch sock, which I used the blue striped rag ones, and laid it against it, that much that I needed to take off. So I went from 72 stitches on the cuff, which the cuff is fine because it's only one strand of yarn and it's okay for that to be a little more stretchy. Potentially I can make them a little bit longer and they could go higher up on his leg. I decreased this to 60 stitches, which normally is too tight even for me. So I think that, like I said, this is sport weight, and then I'm adding a strand of lace weight in there. So this is maybe like a heavy sport light DK that I'm getting down here as far as the yarn I'm knitting with. So I'm knitting them held double. So you can see this yarn has some rust, some cream, gray, and like a caramely brown. It's really pretty. And then the yarn that I'm holding double with it, the mohair, is Shulana. I'll have to look at the label in a second, but it kind of varies between this maroon color to a very light grayish mauve color, which is what it is right now with this cream. And it alternates back and forth, but it's really making a nice, can you see the halo? It's like super fuzzy. I think these are going to be so squishy and nice as boot socks. Here it is. You hold this double with. I struggled a lot with what yarn to hold this double with because a lot of the yarns that I have for Josh for socks are either kind of blacks, grays, or blues, or green. And this did not go with any of those. And then I looked at all the yarn that I have like in a big mattress bag that I got from my Aunt Lynn's stash. And this one was definitely a good match. So here's the Interlacement's Tiny Toes. And I think I'm going to do a charcoal gray contrasting heel and toe. You can see this is not a very large ball. I think that they're only like 300 yard skeins. They're kind of on the small side, actually, for socks. Do I have a label in here? I thought I kept one of the labels so I could tell you guys the deets. I don't have one. Got a lot of other crap in there. Okay, and the yarn I'm holding double with it is Chulana Kidseta, which is 70% mohair, 30% silk. I got this on like super clearance at my local yarn store. It was originally $16 a ball, and I think I got it for like $4 or $5 a ball. So, yeah. I'm very happy to be using that. Again, that's something that's been sitting in my stash for a really long time. Oh my god, I'm throwing stuff everywhere. And Josh is excited to see the difference in performance between the two different styles of socks. And the 60 stitches fits him really nicely. So yeah, those are kind of moving along, but I haven't touched them in a little while because I've been trying to bang out those blue striped drag socks. Okay, next up is a whip that was kind of neglected. I had cast it on and then I just abandoned it. I think because I used the it's because I used the yarn out of it to knit the Half Moon Oracle shawl. So I agreed to do the Oracle test knit for Kristen. So then I spent a month doing that, and then she needed test knitters for the Half Moon Oracle, and I was super happy to do it. And for that one, I used 2 yarns out of my stash, and then she gave me the third for doing test knitting for her. So I had the Poe and Sparkly Grim in my stash, and she actually gave me a skein of Sparkly Grim to replace the skein that I pulled from my stash, but I wanted to get started, so I went ahead and used those 2. And then she gave me the Mexican hot chocolate. So this was the shawl that the Sparkly Grim skein came from, and it is my quill shawl. Oh my god, oh, discombobulated here. Okay, so I am knitting this out of All Wool and Vine Yarns. This is Paranormal on her blitzed base. Then this is Black Pearl on her Narwhal base, which I think she does not carry anymore. It is BFL and Silk blend. It's really nice. That is in the Black Pearl colorway. And then the last one is the Grim colorway on her Blitz base. So again, sparkly. You can't see the sparkle at all, but it is super sparkly. And this is the Quill Shawl by Helen Stewart. The delightful Helen Stewart. This was in her Shawl Society 1, the original Shawl Society. So it starts out just being a very typical triangular shawl, and then there is a really cool lacy border that is this contrast color that only comes up every once in a while, de vez en cuando, as I keep thinking of it. So my bottom part will be almost all of the black with, I think the Black Pearl will be my contrast at the bottom. So I was going for kind of a neutrally shawl, but with some interest to it. The Paranormal has these really fun neon yellow pops, but it's still like, it's like a neon neutral, if you will. So I'm gonna bring it closer so you can see, wow, see them? See those fun little neon speckles? But the base of it is this beautiful lilac-y gray, which goes really well with that Black Pearl, which again is like a purple, but it's got a lot of gray tones in it, and then black. So like these on their own are each very bold, statement-y type colors. So there's that, that's my Black Pearl. I'd had this in my stash for a long time. It's kind of tangly too, because it has that silk in it, it tends to come off the ball a little bit. Here's my Paranormal. And I bought that when she first released that colorway, because oh my gosh. And this was the leftovers of both my Half Moon Oracle and Nilla the Unicorn. And now I remember I have another FO to share with you. So I will insert a little segment into my FO segment that's for Nilla the Unicorn, because it was a gift and I didn't want to podcast about it early, so I just recorded a little FO segment before I packaged it up. So that's just, you know, dark charcoal gray with gold sparkles. I love this shawl. And I love the way Helen Stewart writes her patterns because they're line by line, so you can check them off as you go. So I'm actually 15% done with this shawl. I love triangular shawls, and I haven't made one in a while. I'm flicking myself. These are the Licca needles in a size 5. So I'm really looking forward to having another triangular shawl in my repertoire, because I think the only big one that I have is my Bow Ties Are Cool shawl, and I love that one. I wear it all the time. That is hands down my favorite shawl of all the ones that I've ever knit. I love it so much, and it goes with everything. Okay, and then this one is in a Christmas present from my mom. This is a Chasing Acorns bag, and it has snaps on it so that you can create a box bottom on it, but right now I just have it loose, and it is on some very geeky fabric. There's a pi symbol, there's the relativity equation, there's a sine cosine wave, there's some molecular structures, some circuits, finding angles. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And then it has a little carabiner on the end of the handle so you can clip it onto stuff. Inside of this is a relatively new cast on. I cast it on 2 days ago, and I'm almost done with it. So it is the Chubby Brioche. That's hard to say. Chubby Brioche hat. This is yarn that I found at Tuesday Morning. It is Patton's color wool. I think I've got one in here with the package. Yeah, Patton's color wool. It's $3.50 a ball. It's crazy cheap. So I always dig in their yarn bin. I don't always find stuff, but this time I actually found 2 things. So this is one of the things I found. This is the Countryside colorway of color wool. It's just really fun. It is a super bulky 100% wool yarn. It's very lightly spun, so it's like a single. Yeah, it's like a singles base. But it's going to be super warm. It's not super wash. It's just 100% wool. I'm really excited to have this hat. It's going to be so squishy and nice and warm for this super, super cold weather. I got 2 balls of it. So this is almost the entirety of 1 ball. And what I want to do is make a big hat, and then I want to put a big fat pom-pom on the top, because I don't have any hats with pom-poms. And I want one. I want one with a pom-pom. So here it is closer up. So it's just super fun. Thick brioche. Very easy. Brioche in the round is so easy. This would be a really amazing first brioche project. If you have never knit brioche before, the Chubby Brioche hat is probably the project for you to start with, because it knits up really fast and it gives you all the basics on how to do brioche. There's not any, you get like 9 inches of plain brioche knitting before you start adding in decreases. So by then, you're gonna have the technique locked in. This is a Christmas gift from my mom. It is a Sucre miniature progress keeper. It looks like the cherry chip cakes, and it's just a slice of cake. She had 2 of them, a cupcake and a slice of cake, and I have quite a few cupcake progress keepers, so we got to have our choice. So I took the slice of cake and my sister took the cupcake. So I'm really excited to get this done. Like, look at it from profile. That's how thick it is. It's super thick and squishy. my gosh, I love it so much. I've got this much left of the first ball. I'm gonna be up to full recording time again. And then, like I said, I've got a full second ball. So I think I'm at 7 inches. So I have 2 more inches before I start the decreases on the top. And then I'm gonna need quite a bit to make, I want like that big around of a pom-pom. I don't know where my pom-pom maker is though, so I gotta find that. Okay, I swear I'm almost at the end, guys. Last project was my Christmas Eve cast on. So for my Christmas Eve cast on this year, I wanted to use this yarn, which again is from my Aunt Liz's stash. Do you sense a theme here of what's happening? I'm really trying to knit through her stash that I got, because all this stuff sat in her stash for a really long time, and to be completely honest, it was also in bins in storage for quite a while because she was very sick for quite a while and didn't really do a lot of crafting. Oh no, now I have a slip knot in here. Okay, I'm gonna have to deal with that later. Nope, I got it. So some of it I found like moth signs, and I washed pretty much all of it at this point. But again, I still don't want to take the chance of it sitting for too long. So isn't this beautiful? I do not remember the dyer, but I think she just got it at like a yarn festival because I had never heard of this dyer before, and their label was kind of hand printed and I haven't seen them online. This colorway was written on there as Steve's mom, but my Aunt Lynn's husband's name was also Steve, so I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if that's actually the colorway name or not, but it's a very dark chocolate brown with just these subtle speckles of very muted rainbow colors on it. I just love it so much. It's so pretty. And it's big. So this is like 500 something yards. So I knew I wanted to use it in a shawl. And then the other color that I picked to go with it is this one. And this, again, has been in my stash for quite a while because I don't think Kristen has dyed this colorway in a bit. She's not really a big yellow, a dyer of yellows, but she makes gorgeous yellows. Kristen, you need to dye more yellows, but I know it isn't really your thing, so I get it. This is a very golden, saturated yellow, and this colorway is harpsichord. Look at that, I've got a star on the bottom of it. Do you see that beautiful star that I've got? Boop, 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 boop. Totally unintentional. So that's harpsichord. I just thought it really pulled out those golden speckles, and I do not have any shawls that are this color, which is a travesty because yellow is my favorite color. So I cast on for the A Spark of Gray by Melanie Berg. Melanie Berg was having a sale during the month of December where she would have different patterns that were 15 or 20% off, and she also donated a portion of her proceeds to Doctors Without Borders. So I got several of her patterns that I had had on my wish list for a while. I got A Spark of Gray, The Joker and the Thief, Drakenfels. I think Drakenfels is hers. And there was maybe one other one that I got as well. But this one I cast on right away because I had been wanting to have this. So it again is a triangular shawl with a large ruffle on the bottom. So it calls for the one color that isn't part of the ruffle. I think you need 300 and something yards. It's really cold in this room, guys. Oh my gosh. 366 yards. But the other yarn, which is for the part that's going to have the ruffle, you need 480 yards, which is larger than most standard sock skeins would be. So like this one, for example, is 440, 420, something in there, 400-ish yards. So this 500 yard skein, 510, was perfect to make this ruffle. So it was meant to be. So here's what I have so far. I'm going to move the stitch markers out of the way. I do not have very much because I just did enough so I could get the pattern established, and then I haven't really touched it because I've been, as I said, trying to finish those socks. It's a slip stitch pattern. That's how you achieve those little honeycombs there. I think it's going to be really cool once I have a little bit more of it going. You can see more of what's going on, but I do love that yellow. Oh my gosh, it just glows. And that darker color, oh, it's going to be just stunning with that as the ruffle. So that is my final whip that I'm really doing anything with. I have other whips, but they're hibernating. The other one I want to get back to is the Fairy Fen shawl that I did, my Party in the Mermaid's Grotto shawl that I made my own gradient for. That is on the needles, and I do want to also start working on that once I finish my quilt shawl. That will be my next one that I'll pick up. And this is in my bag that my delightful friend Kristen sewed for me for Christmas. Thank you, Kristen. And is the perfect size for a shawl or for a sweater. It's still pretty roomy. It has like 2 skeins of yarn and my pattern in there, and there's more room in there. That is all my whips, guys. So if I finish my husband's socks, I want to cast on with an acquisition, which is Cheers from Jinx Yarns. This is one of her holiday colorways, but I wanted to cast it on for like a New Year's Eve cast on because it's based on lots of different holiday drinks, and I think it is one of her most gorgeous colorways. So it's a self-striping. It's got like a stripe of green, a stripe of white, a stripe of yellow, a stripe of kind of that red color. There's kind of green between the drink stripes, and then there's a speckled brown for hot chocolate, which is the one that's this little string right there. So if I finish the blue striped rag socks, I'm going to cast on these, and they will be for me. And I think I have a kind of forest green plain yarn that I would use for the heels and toes. So I showed you one of the acquisitions because I already cast it on, and my other big acquisition was also for Tuesday morning, and I think I might use this in Stranded Dye Works. Stranded Podcast is hosting a knit along starting January 1st. That is the commercial yarn along. So it is knit something out of commercial yarn. So this is Carlton Pure Wool DK, and it is made in Turkey. It's a 100% superwash wool, 240 yards per ball, but look at that nice, beautiful mauve color. And so I got a sweater's quantity of this. It was on sale for $4.49 a ball. So this is an absolute steal. And I do not have any yarn in this colorway, and I only have one other sweater's quantity of DK weight yarn. And there are multiple patterns that I own that call for DK that are sweaters. So knowing that I want to knit garments in the next year, knowing that I've wanted a sweater out of this color for a long time, and that commercial yarn along was coming, my adult garment cowl was coming. I just went ahead and got it because it was a whole sweater's quantity for $20. Crazy. So I have 5 of them. I didn't really know what I was gonna make out of it, but I just grabbed all the ones that were the same dye lot, because they're at Tuesday morning, they're all just thrown in a bin. And there's a couple places where it has a little bit of like this one, it has something on it, like some little speckles right here. So I may need to do a little bit of yarn management. I will, of course, alternate skeins also. So yeah, 5 balls of yarn, 240 yards per skein. So I definitely can make any pattern that I want out of this. Anything that is in my queue. Could be heavily cabled, could be lacy, whatever. If I have left over, I can make something for Megwin out of it. But that was my other acquisition, and I think that that was a pretty good one. A good bargain. I did have another one around here, actually. I do have one more acquisition, and I don't know where I put it. 2 more acquisitions. So again, as part of like end of year sales, I've had my eye on trying some Peepaloo Fields ever since I saw it on the Hey Sister podcast. I believe that Rachel knit part of her, it's not what the fade, Find Your Fade shawl. It was like the original fade. She knit her beginning part out of Peepaloo Fields. There may have even been a pretty decent portion of it. And this is one of the colors that she used. So I had my eye on the Peepaloo Fields shop. I wanted to try some of their yarn. And then they did a 20% off year-end sale. And now it's getting really bright because of the sun. I may need to... Okay, that's better. So I thought that was the time to just grab a skein and see what I thought of it. And I have planned a So Faded sweater with peaches and pinks. And I already have all of them, but I maybe had one more spot to kind of fill in to transition between the Tea Leaves colorway in Wool and Vine yarns and the Angry Orchard colorway, which is also Wool and Vine, and I've had both of those in my stash for a bit. So long story short, I got this skein, and this is the Cobbler colorway. So it is very light peach to a darker, richer peach. It has orange speckles and then purple speckles like a fruit cobbler. And then there's also some green speckles. There's some golden ones like inside of there. It's a really pretty skein of yarn. I am so excited about that peach and pink So Faded. I can't wait to cast it on. I'm going to do that after my Star Wars So Faded is done, which I need to pick up again. But I'm trying to do a little bit of needle clearing. If you've noticed, like the quill shawl has been on my needles for about 5 months and just hibernating, and same for Josh's socks. They were there for a while. So when I finish that, maybe good. So this is on their 80/20 merino nylon sock base. And yeah, I definitely will be ordering more from them. They have gorgeous, very muted colors. I love their color palette. It's my jam, so. And then last one, I haven't gotten this out of the bag yet. I showed this on the, on my Vlogmas, but not on the podcast. It is a skein of Gingerbread Girl by Sugar Tots. And she sold out of this, and I didn't get it, and I replied to her post on Instagram and went, oh crap, I missed out because we were out Christmas shopping. And she said, maybe I should open a pre-order. And I was like, if you do, I will buy it. And to be perfectly honest, I did a lot of like treating myself this month to different Christmassy sock yarns because everybody made such beautiful stuff. But that's okay because it's Christmas and I got, you know, some Christmas money from different relatives, and then my birthday is coming up next month, so anyway, she put up a pre-order, so I grabbed a set. Isn't it gorgeous? It's got neons, and it comes with this little mint green contrasting skein. She added a little Jingle Bell stitch marker. Oh, that neon pink, oh my gosh. I cannot wait to see how this knits up, because I have not seen actual socks made out of it, but I imagine it's going to be so much fun. And again, like, it's got a Christmassy name, but I could see these being way more than just a Christmas color. To me, it's just fun sock yarn. So, those are definitely going to be on my needles soon. And that is my final acquisition. So this is going to be my last podcast of 2017. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for all of your wonderful support, your comments, all of your participation in the CALs, for everybody that co-hosted CALs with me this year, for people that donated prizes, sent me things. I mean, you guys are just amazing. You have made 2017 a really awesome year for me. Some parts of this year were really challenging for me from a personal perspective and a professional perspective. But you guys were definitely one of the rays of sunshine in my 2017, and for that I thank each and every one of you. And I got a lot of new subscribers for Vlogmas, so I hope that you all stick with me and that you enjoy and participate in my CALs that are coming for 2018. So to everyone, I wish you a very safe and happy new year, and I will talk to you next time. Okay.